Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024. The single most effective way of protecting yourself is to protect your finances. And the single most effective way of protecting your finances and your hard-earned income is to invest in the insurance policy of precious metals. Thousands of years, it's been the way to protect yourself. It isn't any different this time either. And this is why my first guest, who is a very dear friend, but also an incredible freedom fighter of the highest order, this is why Adriana Reed is so despised by the deep state, as well as the company she represents, the Camino Company. Why? Because they create a financial lifeboat for you by being able for you to be able to purchase precious metals. Adriana Reed has been with the Camino Company since 2011 as a trader. She is one of the principals in the Camino Company, and I believe, folks, and I have found to be the most honest and knowledgeable people in the precious metals arena. It's my honor to welcome back our friend, Adriana Reed. Adriana, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Show and platform.
Thanks for having me again, Dave.
So, Adriana, many, many months ago, you came on this platform, got a lot of grief because you said that you felt this was actually about a year and a half ago. You felt that we were headed for a stagflationary economic environment. And sure as shooting, we have stagnation of the economy and we have rampant inflation, which is misrepresented by the deep state players in the government of ours, if you will. They want to underestimate the inflation so people don't realize how truly bad it is, but all you have to do is fill your car with gas or go to the grocery store and you realize how bad it is. So, Adriana, what did you see a year and a half ago that put you so far ahead of the curve and those who listen to you so far ahead of the curve when others were saying, oh, there is no chance that we're going to enter into a stagflationary environment?
Right, exactly. So I think the main thing that you have to look at really is history. This is just history repeating itself. As far as I'm concerned, when you look, and we talked about this, since 1913, I believe that all the crashes our economy has experienced has been synthetic. So it really is just caused by the Federal Reserve, in my personal opinion. And, you know, the global syndicate, the central banks, the economic forum, they all work together to cause this type of chaos. And so that's why once you understand how they play their game, you can be ahead of it by a year and a half. And what I saw was we shut the entire economy down, and then we started printing money, which is the worst mistake we could possibly make. Printing money automatically is going to send you into inflation. I tell people the fact of the matter is in 1950, you could buy a burger for 25 cents. You could get a full meal. But nowadays, that whole meal is about $20. And it's not that the food has changed, it's that inflation has kicked in over time. And that's why things are just more expensive than they were in the past. And what we did is we shut everybody down. We send everybody inside and say, hey, here's a bunch of money. And to get people back to work and get an economy back going, you have to have natural capitalism where you have the rise and fall of, an industry or a company or whatever it may be. And it has to happen naturally. When we do it synthetically, it's very easy to predict inflation. Now, inflation, they put it at, they're talking about 9.5%. And like you said, just go to the grocery store, go to the gas pump. I mean, it's way higher than that. And it's taking a huge toll on families to the point that they even put an article out that said, if you make less or over $300,000, you're not affected by inflation. Name the average family that makes $300,000 in a year. Right. So, everybody's feeling inflation right now. And inflation and stagflation in general, in my opinion, are truly meant to wipe out the middle class because that's really what it does. And it puts more people, saying that we need to turn to our government for more help, which is, in essence, their plan.
It is their plan. It's about chaos, as you mentioned, and it's about making people dependent on the globalist syndicate. That's their playbook in a nutshell, Adriana.
It is 100%. And the fact of the matter is we could have prevented a lot of the things that are happening right now, but we didn't. We're acting like we're one step behind when we know that they're 5 steps ahead of us. And that's why, my job and my work is to help people get ahead of the evil that is going on in the world.
So let's talk about getting people ahead of what the syndicate has up its actually the cards it's been playing for decades, but in particular they're the cards they've been playing those cards a little bit more frequently of late over the past couple years, and in particular over the past 2 years, and in particular over the past 6 months. So let's talk about precious metals, Adriana.
Yeah.
Because when you watch Fox Business News, when you see what I call CNBS, or listen to Bloomberg or Reuters, they classify it, gold and stuff. They're barbarous relics. Okay, Adriana, set everybody straight about the power of precious metals and how they protect people.
Absolutely. So, metals work in opposition of chaos, inflation, the dollar. That's what we work in opposition to. And so when you buy precious metals, there's 2 main things that you do. Is number 1, you give yourself an insurance against fiat currency. And then number 2, you get your money out of the global banking system. And it's the 2 things that they can't fight against. It's just fact. And it puts the power back into your hands. So when you buy precious metals, you really are protecting yourself by taking your own wealth into your own hands.
Now, Adriana, there is a difference between physical precious metals and paper exposure to precious metals.
Yes.
Please educate our listeners about the difference, because the physical in my world, to me, is the way to protect yourself, while the paper positions in precious metals have been used, I would say, criminally, to manipulate a fraudulent price lower, so the syndicate can purchase more of those precious metals and try to dissuade people from ultimately getting the protection of owning physical precious metals. What's your take?
Absolutely. So let's just explain the difference between physicals and also what we're talking about with stocks and things like that. So if you go to your broker on a typical basis and say, hey, I heard an interview that I should get into precious metals, what should I do? The first thing they're going to tell you to do is buy ETFs, which are electronic traded funds, mining stocks. Those are the 2 main things that they're going to try to get you in. Now, those are going to be paper contracts, which stay on their books. And the main concern that I have, and what you just explained with the manipulation of price, is if all the physicals were required to be delivered on the contracts, I do not believe it would be possible. And that's how they have manipulated the prices. Now, what I do is when you place an order with us, I take those metals and I physically send them to you. So they are in your possession. So there is no question of whether or not I'm able to deliver. You're not buying any bogus contracts that, are questionable. You can't lose your physical metals in a keystroke, which we've seen, technology at its finest. Mm-hmm. And it really protects yourself to have that hard asset. But then on top of that, the other thing about it is having those hard assets that what we've also seen these past 2 years, banks in your local area shut down during COVID. And not a lot of people had access to their funds if they wanted to get cash out, or access to safety deposit boxes if they had their valuables in there. And that's why having your physical precious metals close to home or in your home, you're even more protected against what they have more potential of being capable of, like we saw in 2020 and 2021.
Now, Adriana, and folks, we're speaking with Adriana Reid from the Camino Company. One of the criticisms that folks at brokerage companies that that peddle stocks, if you will, paper assets, say, well, buying gold, physical gold and physical silver, it's not transparent. It's very difficult to do. Now, Adriana, as you know, I have known and dealt with the Camino Company for 30 years. I have always found the way in which a transaction occurs with Camino is very transparent, number one, and two, very, very easy and very secure. Educate our listeners on this myth that's propagated that buying physical precious metals is hard to do and it's not transparent. Educate folks on how Camino does this because, as I said, it's transparent and it's very easy.
Right, absolutely. So you can give us a call. We are actually going to, we're switching our hours 9 to 4:30. But you give us a call, you can speak to one of the traders. What they're going to do is they're going to walk you through the process of purchasing. So number one, we go over what your budget is. Now, we deal with people who have any range of a budget whatsoever. Even if it's just buying 1 ounce of silver, we're more than happy to help you with whatever your spending capability is. We go over all of the pricing and what we can fill up with what you have to spend. Then we lock in all of the prices at that time. So when we say that the prices are now officially locked in and we explain the whole process to you, that means that the timestamp is put on the precious metals because we do have an ever-changing market. So if the markets go up, we don't charge you more. If they go down, you're going to guarantee payment. Once we receive payment, you can do a wire if you want to speed up the process. We do a check if you want to just do a personal check. And then if you want to come into our office in person, we also do cash transactions in person as well. You can come in and make a purchase that way. But once all the prices are locked in, we receive payment. We ship metals out to you. Physical metals will be sent to you. Now, we send everything insured, so everything is sent. Once you sign, you take possession, you're in charge of all insurance after that. But, we guarantee that the metals will get into your hands.
And once folks get those metals, what do they do with them? Do they take them to their safety deposit box at the bank, or should they actually find an alternative means of storage?
Right. So like I just said, do not put it in the safety deposit box, in my personal opinion. The whole point of us doing this is to make sure that we get you out of the banking system, and we don't want to put it right back into their hands. Like I said, during COVID, I had an uncle who it took 3 months just to get into a safety deposit box because the banks were closed and they didn't have enough appointments available. But the safety deposit boxes, I just don't believe are safe. I do believe that they are owned by the bank, whether they claim it or not. A good place to store is if you can get a good safe at home, is a really great option. Just because you have it there, it's safe. Then the other option is also private storages. So when I say private, this has nothing to do with the banking system. This is going to be an off-site storage. As you and I have talked about, you utilize Brinks.
Yes.
And a good way also is to look up your local safety deposit and storage facilities and see if you can head in there, get a feel for what it's like, ask them about their insurance policies, all the different things that you would want in a storage facility.
So, Adriana, when you survey the landscape about availability of physical gold and silver, there has been a huge rush of people saying, you know what, I don't like what I'm seeing around the world financially. And these folks have been talking about this for a long time. And you know what? I've been sitting around and I have to get off a dead center. And there's been a huge rush for purchase in the retail market of gold and silver. What is the availability of gold and silver right now?
Yeah, so we're holding pretty steady for the most part as far as delivery goes on gold and silver. There are some items that are going to be a little bit delayed, and you could speak to the traders at the time because it is truly day to day based off of the manufacturers that we deal with and things like that. So they'll explain if there is any delays. Right now, due to volume, we are about 1 week behind in mailing things out. But for the most part, we're getting things out as quickly as possible and into your hands.
Now, when people purchase precious metals, there is a premium associated, and that premium fluctuates based on supply demand. So, Adriana, as I mentioned in your introduction, you have been a trader since 2011 with precious metals, physical precious metals. Where are we with the premiums right now in gold and silver?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are looking to a situation very similar to 2011. Premiums are running pretty high for what I would consider this is kind of an on year versus in our more mellow years before the pandemic. But they are not as high as I have seen them. So we're doing our best to work to keep the price as low as possible as far as the premium goes to, keep it beneficial for our customers.
And as far as when you were on last time, we discussed about the U.S. Mint having some issues with getting blanks, silver blanks in particular, and then them kind of curtailing production. Is that still the case?
Dave, they've picked up production somewhat, but I'm still always weary of the Mint as far as their practices, just because they are linked to our government. So we know what they are capable of, but their production has picked up. So we are seeing more supply, but it is not at full capacity. I will say that.
Adriana, tell me if I'm off on this, but one of the biggest mistakes I see and hear people make when it comes to physical precious metals is they say, I'm watching this price and I think that there might be some shenanigans going on to keep the price down. Meanwhile, the big banks, governments like Russia and China and India are all purchasing precious metals at these prices.
Absolutely.
But what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold off because I think they're going to manipulate it down further. Now, to me, Adriana, that is the biggest mistake someone can make. Am I off on that?
No, I 100% agree with that. The reason I say that is you can never truly hit the bottom. That's just my perspective. And the main thing is to get in, number one, when you have spending capability, when you're able to do that. The other problem is if the markets do drop, premiums have a tendency to go out the roof and supply goes short. So we can't guarantee that if there is a drop that you would be set up for success in that sense. And for me, the main thing is that with all of the things that are going on in the world, it seems that we're getting hit by every sector. Big pharma's coming after us, the government's coming after us, the globals are coming after us, the central banks, and it really every day is incredibly volatile. And it's not worth taking the risk that it's going to happen tomorrow.
Adriana, I want to focus on silver right now. When I survey the landscape in some economies that have cracked recently, Argentina, Venezuela, Zimbabwe before that, families that resorted to using physical silver actually had access to food supplies and the like. In our last couple minutes here, Adriana, educate our listeners on physical silver and what products are available for that situation.
Absolutely. So I call this the Wild Wild West scenario, where if America, if we default, we don't have a plan and we don't know what we're going to do, that you would have to use metals in order to have purchase power. So there's two main items that I recommend that would be great for that. Number one is going to be the 1 ounce silver rounds. The reason I recommend those is because they have a low premium, which is what we want to keep the premiums as low as possible. But they're 1 ounce coins, which you and I had seen with Venezuela, that one silver coin got many families 3 months worth of food during that time. Right. Now, the other option is 90% silver, which is the item that I truly love. The 90% silver is pre-1965, so 64 and before, dimes, quarters, and half dollars. All of these items are great to use if you needed to barter, because it's kind of like a fractional silver piece. So both of those items are really great.
In our last 30 seconds, how can folks get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So you can give us a call at 800-348-8001. Like I said, we're going 9 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Then you can also contact me at adriana@caminocompany.com. Also, check out our website. We do have a 24/7 store at www.caminocompany.com.
And the times you gave for when you're open are Pacific times, 9 to 4:30 Pacific.